I need you to pull out your tinfoil hat because I think I figured it all out.
Ooh, I'm so excited. Today, Mark and I are talking about the thrilling post-apocalyptic science fiction TV show Paradise Season 2, Episode 7, the final countdown, so spoilers are ahead.
And we are diving straight into theories about Sinatra, Alex, and Jane.
And then talking about our overall thoughts on the episode.
Quick shout out to our channel members. We truly appreciate how awesome you are. Thank you for being so loyal. We couldn't do this without you.
Now let's get into the episode.
Sterling D. Watts, I need you to pull out your tinfoil hat because I think I figured it all out.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
These are some big words, I know. I think with the stunning revelation that Link might potentially be Dylan?
Yes.
Her Dylan?
That's the impression I got. Yep.
Okay, let's backtrack to... Okay, first off, the whole theory is I think that Samantha triggered the end of the world.
Okay.
Couple of reasons I believe this. She is eager to build this town. She says this is the future. She has some mysterious thing going on with Alex that we don't know.
Yeah.
Clue 1 from season 1. They felt like they had more time worrying about this volcano going off, and the volcano just instantly goes off. They were a little unprepared for it. They thought all of the models that they had and that we're looking at still gave them several years out.
Yeah.
Clue 2, the beginning of this episode, Cal is explaining to Samantha about the really expensive robe he bought. And he looks at Samantha and says, I hope we're not wasting all this money for something that's not going to happen. And she looks at him and tells him this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, now here is where the final clue comes from.
Okay.
Think about that message that we think that is from Alex.
Right, yeah. I mean, it said from Alex Q, but yes.
Alex Q, could be Alex, we don't know.
Yeah.
I forget the exact wording. I know that people have mentioned in our comments about the way that the message was for Jane and not that Jane was going to kill a lot of people. And I think that Alex potentially was trying to get a warning to Jane about Samantha Redmond.
Okay.
That Samantha is the one that's going to kill a bunch of people, or even still Alex, because they also refer to Alex as she, her pronouns. They said, I'm not giving you her.
Okay.
So Alex could be the girl that also created the mass amount of deaths, which creating the mass amount of deaths would be from the big climate change pattern. And so I think that Samantha started this creating this global issue that killed a bunch of people because the bunker that she built with Alex involved in whatever way Alex is there, quantum entanglement. And I think the bunker had to be completely isolated from the outside, almost like a Schrodinger's box where it could be in superposition in there, creating a vastly different world out there that is sort of the same, but also sort of different. And so the flashback that we saw with Samantha taking over Alex and getting rid of that person, the guy that built it, and this kid was a student, is one part where I'm a little fuzzy how it connects. But to me, it seems that Link Dylan is her Link Dylan, He's the same
Yeah.
age, born on the same day, same name. He is there because of what Samantha did. And since Samantha sees that he's there, she knows that Alex worked. Like whatever she was planning. So I think that it created a superposition of them in the bunker, which would also lead me to believe that the Terry outside is not exactly the Terry we saw in season 1. It is still Terry for pretty much all intents and purposes. But Xavier says, I like your new hair, which 3 years, you could definitely have a new hairstyle. Your hair would definitely be different. But she also says, you got skinny. He's still a big dude.
Yeah.
So it does seem that, yes, maybe he was in a bunker. He could have lost a bunch of weight or is not training as hard as he was when he was the main Secret Service guy. So he maybe naturally lost a little bit of his weight. But I think that could also lend credence to the fact that they are two different versions of themselves that they're seeing.
I can really see that, because if he got skinny, it happened in a crazy short period of time, because there's hasn't been that much time passed from start of season 1, which is in the bunker. So I'm not talking about like the flashbacks. Start of season 1 to where we are now hasn't really been all that much time. And start of season 1, Xavier's kids are fat shaming him. So that is chunky Xavier, if you will.
That's what I'm saying.
And so he would have had to, in that very short period of time, and we didn't really see him doing, like, his kids were giving him like egg whites, but once again, that you're not going to lose a ton of weight from diet alone, or actually diet alone is what's going to give you like the most weight loss, but you're not going to see it happen in a crazy short amount of time.
Right.
So the only other thing that I could think of, other than your explanation, which I really like, is that short period while he's out of the bunker that he just can't get as much food as he needs. And so he's like on a crazy caloric deficit during that time. But that'd have to be pretty insane for him to, I think, in that short period of time, to lose a noticeable amount of weight. If he was like needed to lose weight at the beginning to skinny at the end.
So that's my theory. That I feel she caused it. They weren't expecting it to happen. And she guaranteed Cal that it was going to happen. So I think this was all Samantha Redmond's plan so that she could attempt to bring her son back. I don't know if that's the full goal or if it was to kind of make this isolated group that she could control. I do really.
So is it completely selfish, or is it, or does she have some altruistic beliefs? Where maybe if she can control the how and when, then she will have access to Alex and all the power and resources to be able to do the plan to save the world or whatever it is that she's trying to do. So, like, do you think that she is trying to be good, or is it completely selfish?
Well, I think anybody with an absolute power will corrupt. That is my opinion. So even if she has the best intentions, I think once you get all of the pieces in place and you are the one in control, that power will corrupt you. And whatever good intentions you had in the beginning, they are not there when you have absolute power. That, I think, is it. But again, in this episode, we see the doctor confront her, and the doctor lays it out like, I know that she killed Barnes and did all XYZ. And then like Samantha didn't even try to defend it or like, because she's not afraid, right? She's at the top. Not what's going to stop her. This doctor's not going to stop her. And then she says she like goes into that, oh, do you want me to say it again? I'm not a monster. So she keeps saying she's not a monster. And I think maybe, she might not be a monster. She could have thought that the world was ending and just sped it up a little bit because she had Alex
Right.
so that she could run whatever test or diagnostic to get her son back. And bringing a life back, is that bad if it's already going to happen? Maybe she really doesn't think she's a monster. But she said it so flippantly that to
Right.
me, it's like she has it on like a script in her head. I'm not a monster. I can just say I'm not a monster. And if I say I'm not a monster enough, I'm not a monster. So
Okay.
I do think she's got a little bit more nefarious in her than she lets on.
I think she is on the side of good, and I think she's making tough decisions. I mean, if she isn't, then she is an amazing liar because she managed to lie on the when she was getting
Polygraph.
like the lie detector test.
Sure.
And she was asked, "Are you doing this something like for selfish reasons? Purely for yourself?"
Sure.
Something along those lines.
And she might believe it. She might believe she's doing some good. But then let me ask you this.
Yes.
In the one episode that we saw, I think it was episode 3 or so, the one with Billy.
Okay, yep.
Was she being a good person trying to take Alex away from that doctor? If you think about everything that panned out in that episode, right? She might have these good intentions to save the world, but she literally hired up a contract killer to go threaten him. And then when he wouldn't give it up, to execute him. So to me, I don't care how good you are. That seems like evil person behavior.
But it's the ends justify the means, and I don't normally agree with that. But I think this is the calculation of the extreme of, well, what if the ends that you were trying to get to is saving the entire world? We're not talking about something smaller scale. We're talking about literally the fate of the entire world is at stake, and nobody is working towards the right thing. Nobody believes this is going to happen. The world will end if I don't do this. And so I will do whatever it takes. And that's kind of been the impression that I've gotten from her. And I kind of got that impression from that scientist or whatever it was that he was that created Alex, that he was aware that there was something bigger going on and that potentially this was the time to hand that over.
And so if she truly thinks that this Alex is good, potentially the creator thought it was a good thing. But here's the problem. Most people, I don't even know if Cal knew about it, did not know of Alex's existence in this bunker. And the whole bunker could work on its own. That would, like, if you're truly set on saving humanity, then you have a system that is set with that, and yet you have this other hidden thing that's siphoning power that only you know about. And if that is for the greater good, wouldn't all of the people running the greater good know about it as well? So, like, it does seem that the Alex part is for her selfish gains, and that there could have been the whole bunker part, but they needed the Alex part so that she could get Dylan back. Like, that's what it a little bit feels like to me.
I get the impression that maybe the tech around Alex is so unbelievable that she wouldn't have gotten people to buy into it. So she felt like she had to go on her own on this one.
But if she was able to know about the power of this tech, then the knowing the power of it was already out there. Like the science thing. It's like, if the science is there and can be replicated and could be proven that it is working, it shouldn't be that hard of a sell to be like, look at this thing that we could do.
It might not have been proven yet. It might have been, just like a
theoretical still.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Because there were only two people that really understood it, which was the person that created it and Link. And, the guy that created it said that there was only one other person who really understood it. He was 10 years younger than everybody else. So it was kind of alluding to the fact that it was Link. And then when Billy killed that guy and Billy came out, he ran into Link, which kind of then makes you assume that that is who it is that we're talking about. I do think that the Sinatra isn't the only person who knows about it.
Okay.
Well, one, obviously Link knows about it, but
Sure.
Carmen knows about it. Carmen being the maid or whatever that works for Sinatra, because Sinatra did ask Carmen how in episode 3, how is Alex? After she'd woken up from her coma, and Carmen said something about Alex being fine, or I don't remember exactly what the line was. And this episode, when Sinatra went to Alex, there were 2 coats there.
Yes, I did.
She
see
put
2
one
coats.
of them on.
I did see the coat.
So I think the other one is Carmen's coat.
Just the maid?
I think she's as much a maid as Billy and Jane were Secret Service agents.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is to say that they're like cover jobs,
And now, just so I'm clear with how I view Sinatra, Samantha Redmond, I don't think that she's a monster. Even if this is selfish intentions of bringing back Dylan, I don't think that she's a monster. I just think that she's a mother grieving. And we even saw in this episode when she talks to her husband, she's like, how did you do it? How did you move on? How'd you get better? And he was like, oh, I'm not. And she's like, no, you're like able to do stuff that you enjoy. You can like live a life. I can't even hear his name. And he's like, no, you are better. And she's like, I don't think I am. So like she has been so destroyed by the loss of Dylan that I completely understand her actions, that if she is a billionaire and has access to this tech and can do this thing, that makes sense. Like, I don't think she is that monster that thing, but I do think it is the whole Alex stuff, I think, is for selfish reasons.
Now, I do think that you mentioned the message to or for or about Jane, or possibly none of those. That message, I don't think we're done with that.
No.
And I don't think we're done with Jane.
Oh, you don't think Jane died?
That to me didn't seem like a definitive screen death. And
yeah.
I mean, the message could have more to it, and so maybe it's not anticlimactic, but that seemed like if the message was referencing that moment, then it does seem anticlimactic, because it didn't matter that Jane got the message. It didn't, she didn't do anything with it. So I don't think we're done with Jane, and I definitely don't think we're done with the message. And I don't even know if we know what the message is, because what was on screen, there was a colon at the end of it, as if there was more, as if as if the first part was just talking to Don. Don was the Circuit City guy.
Right. Okay.
The first part almost seemed like it was like, that's for Don, and it's saying a killer will be born on this day. The killer can be stopped when it matters, as long as you get, her this message or something like that. Colon.
So we don't know what the message is. And
then later it says like, deliver the message, deliver the message, deliver the message, deliver the message. And so I don't know if that actually was the message that he was supposed to deliver. I think we're going to get the message through a flashback, probably in the next episode.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we'll get a lot of the answers that we're looking for. I do feel like this season did a really good job. So, like, the last season, and we talked about this, what you see is what you get. It does its thing, and it wasn't until, like, I think close to the second to last episode, you're starting to put it together. You're like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. And this season, I think, did a better job, weirdly, at keeping an interesting mystery of all these different pieces that are puzzling, while still having a full storyline of somebody that had nothing related to the bunker or this mystery with all of Xavier's plot. So I think that this has been a pretty good season juggling this mystery as well as giving us a satisfying storyline with Xavier.
Yeah, I think that it has kind of equal parts that, mystery box aspect with a post-apocalyptic sci-fi, maybe a little bit kind of dystopian thing going on, and then also having some really interesting stories and having some great moments of drama for these characters to deal with. I don't always love the drama. I think it sometimes tends a little bit towards melodrama for me. Mm-hmm. But some of it has been amazing. Like, I actually really liked, like, especially Annie's story in the beginning, I thought was such a cool story.
Oh, yeah.
So there's been such an interesting balance where, I mean, you could almost do this story without the mystery sci-fi element.
Yeah.
And it would still be a great engaging story in and of itself. But then we have that kind of like sci-fi aspect cut into it that keeps teasing us with something else going on. And it's interesting how it kind of set it up in season 1 without it being super obvious. Like those split shots that it kept doing just seemed like an interesting stylistic choice.
Yeah.
And then once we get into season 2, then it's like, oh, there was a real reason for that. Yeah. Which, speaking of which, I've noticed a different type of choice here, which I think is also telegraphing something. And that has to do with like the cinematography. And that is that I noticed that some of the shots they're doing weird cuts that you don't generally see in film. So when Sinatra's playing with her light in the hand, it did some cuts there where it showed it in different positions. I think they did something similar with like the doctor in the shower or around the shower. There was another moment where they did cuts like that. And I feel that generally you don't do, when you do cuts, like you switch to a different camera versus having these like, they almost seem like they're micro skips in time.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they are like different timelines or different multiverses, or it feels like it's telegraphing something.
Okay.
Because they are such kind of uncommon cuts to do. That once again, like if you have a cut, it's generally going to be a cut to a different camera for a different perspective.
Sure.
Instead of a
the same
cut
camera
with the same camera.
Cut, yeah.
Just a few moments later.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. But I didn't think I noticed that because I've already felt like this show does interesting choices with that, with like the blurring, the music, the different shots they do. So I didn't even notice those little skip cuts, but I'm not surprised by them either.
Yeah. And like I said, I kind of feel like they're trying to maybe telegraph something. We'll see.
It is curious about these bloody noses, though.
Yes.
Because they both got a bloody nose at the same time. It's not like everybody else is getting bloody noses around them. Xavier got a bloody nose.
which possibly could have been at the same time.
Could have been at the same time. I don't know what that means, especially like in relation with Alex, where we would know that if Samantha is this main character or creating this alternate worlds, why would it affect Samantha? Why would it affect Link specifically? And why would it affect Xavier specifically? All of these things, unless
I think Jane might be affected too.
So
we haven't seen bloody noses with her, but she did mention last episode, I think, when she was talking to her mentor, she said something about hearing voices. And that, to me, I wonder if that is similar to Xavier seeing visions of the future.
Mm-hmm.
Is that these kind of visions from a different time can come across as like you're going crazy and you're hearing things.
We also do know that Billy's gotten bloody noses.
Yes.
Albeit a different time.
Yeah.
But it does feel... So what I'm wondering, and this is going to dive a little bit into Doctor Who.
Okay.
Which I know you will love. Specifically, there's the one episode, Water on Mars. Do you remember that one?
Okay. Of course I do.
Where the Doctor has explained that there are moments in time that are things that have to happen.
Fixed points, yeah.
Fixed points in time. And Water on Mars is one where he tries to...
He gets too big for his own britches, and he says that he can change a fixed point.
Yeah, and so he wants to defy these fixed points. And I'm wondering if these bloody noses are tied to fixed points. I know it's a completely different show genre, but something along those lines, right? We see Billy get a bloody nose after he kills the scientist. Xavier gets bloody nose at the beginning in the plane crash. And then also when he's got his wife safe in hand. And then we see bloody noses from Sam and Link when they meet. So I'm wondering if it's two thoughts. Either they're fixed points that have to happen and creating them creates a bloody nose, or they're points that aren't supposed to happen. And since you're defying the flow of time or whatever, that's what's creating those like bloody noses.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I like those ideas.
I got theories. I don't have answers.
I got questions and no answers. That's even worse. Like,
oh, that is bad.
What is Bean's real name, and why don't we know what his real name is? And why is he even in the story? I feel like Bean is going to matter at some point.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think Bean will matter.
And the fact that he goes by a name like Bean, to me, is also kind of telegraphing, just like how for the longest time we didn't know Dylan's name, and he was going by Link instead of his own name. And even when we saw his ID, we didn't see his name. That to me is kind of like screaming his identity matters.
What about Annie's baby? That's another person that doesn't have a name.
Yes.
And she's... Well, I mean, she definitely has a little bit more importance to the story since Link is her dad. So that's fair.
I still like on that one that, and I like it because it's my own theory, but I still like the idea that Link seems like he's on a bit of a revenge thing. You know, his mentor got killed. He potentially worries that Sinatra is going to misuse Alex. And so the easiest thing to do is to get rid of the technology. That way it can't be misused. And it seems like it's coming from a dark place, a place of hurt. And I think that this baby will give him a change of perspective and, you know, make him go down a different and better path.
I could even one-up you on that one.
Sure.
Are you ready for that?
I'm so ready.
This baby could have that same effect on Samantha Redmond, because if Link is in fact her son, that is her granddaughter, and a new baby granddaughter existing could make the monster of Samantha Redmond completely change her whole attitude, seeing her dead son's baby.
Oh, that's a damn good theory.
And being a grandma for that.
I buy it. I like it.
So that baby has a lot of chance to sway people. Now with the Bean, I could see Bean two options.
Sure.
This is two options. The option that's not as far out there is that Terry was out there alone with a group that wasn't the best group. Gary's a little crazy. Enos didn't like her. Sure, she had other people, but Bean was like her family. And I think it could give Terry family for the last 3 years. It could be like a sympathetic, and it makes sense. Like it shows like the struggles of like they were separated for 3 years and she lived a life without him. And Xavier lived a life with his kids without her, and having him kept her being that motherly figure and didn't let her lose her spark of hope and wanting to survive. So I could see Bean being a vessel for that. Or here's the tin theory hat.
Okay.
Bean could be Billy.
Okay.
And since we've kind of broken the rules of time travel, even though none of that has been proven that time travels in this or multiple universes, we don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
But we know when Billy was a little bit older, like, so Bean was probably like 8, I would say. And he was living with his deadbeat parents. But then we saw Billy when he was about 12 to 14, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Was living with his uncle, who also seems like a deadbeat.
Yeah.
And potentially in one version, Billy Bean was living with his shit parents. They overdose or lost custody. The uncle takes over. That's just a thought. I don't really subscribe to that one that much, but it was just something percolating in my brain that if Bean would be a character, I could see him being Billy.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Okay, I've got you're right on the theorizing train. So I don't know if I'd buy the last one as much, but you're chugging along.
I'll make up
so
answers
let me go ahead and throw another one at you and see if you can come up with a theory.
All right, lay it on me.
Why did Terry go in with a known killer by herself and say anything nice to him? Because you can chalk up the Enos one as like that was a moment of desperation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For me, it's still murder. I think it's still too far.
Cool motive, still murder.
But then he tried to kill Xavier. So he definitely did one murder and then attempted to do a second one.
Yeah.
That's not showing remorse and like, oh, I learned from it. I'm a good person. I would like to change my ways. I'd like to do better. And I don't know. I feel like they made us try and feel sympathetic for his character and
what about
like
kidnapping?
Care about him and yeah.
He kidnapped Bean after too.
Yeah. He's a bad dude, and I think that Terry shouldn't have gone in there on her own, and she should have let Xavier go ahead and Jason Bourne it.
I think that I agree. I think he's crazy. I think he's terrible. I think he's awful. And I think that...
And who knows what he would have done to her? Like, just look at what he has done.
Sure. I think... So, through the whole thing, we do see that Terry gives him a lot of leeway and sympathy. You know, he reaches to try to kiss her. She's just like, look, you're great. I'm really grateful for you saving me, but I can never give you that. And
Yeah.
I think that what this season really tried to do with Gary's character is create somebody that was dealing with a loneliness issue, having no friends, nothing to live for. Like the whole first part of his life were the worst parts of his life, and these 3 years were the best thing that's ever happened to him. Even though
Yeah.
this is terrible thing that happened, it's an awful thing that happened, but yet
Mm-hmm.
these were his best years. So I think the show is trying to show a character that like had nothing before this happened, and then he had a sense of purpose and meaning, and one by one the girls left, the other people left, her and Bean were gonna leave, and slowly he was losing one person, and the
Yeah.
killing Enos, definitely a fit of passion. He describes the whole drowning situation, and I think especially also with Xavier, that's part of that continued drowning where he's not thinking rationally. And I think that they wanted.
I mean, he was lying to Xavier for quite some time. That
Well,
was
yeah.
that was beyond just like in the moment, you know.
Right, that's there's the whole context of the last episode that showed that he was manipulating Xavier from the beginning.
From the start.
That's, I mean, he's a bad character.
I like what you're saying. I think that what they didn't pull off for me was they almost kind of made it okay what he did, because Terry kind of gave him a like, hey, you're gonna, you know, I know that you feel like you're gonna be alone again, but you can get through this. She gave him you know, like a motivational, like it's okay, versus saying, Gary, you need serious help. What you did was not okay. You did many wrong things, and I think you need help. And I hope that you have a good life and that you do better things. I know that there probably isn't a prison system. There probably isn't a way to deal with a person like that. Not that I think that prisons are necessarily the best. I think that oftentimes they focus more on punishment than reform. And so the people can come out bad still, or you know, so I think that I get that the world may not be able to deal with people like that right now, but it almost felt like they gave him the thumbs up, like, it's okay. Things are going to get better, you know? And versus like having there be any kind of moral of like, it's not okay to do those things, Gary.
Yeah, I definitely see that part of it too. And yeah, you're right. There is not a lot. Like, how do you punish someone like that, especially if you're leaving? And maybe it still goes with that message of the overall season of that trusting people is the right thing to do. And seeing Terry, who lived with Gary and saw all those issues, she still gave him the trust that he could. Those were fits of passion, or, you know, moments where he was losing everything, and she still was the better person, and she could, you know, I think he's dangerous, crazy, and he should have had some comeuppance.
I hate to say it, in a world like this where it's you know, post-apocalypse, and so there aren't systems in place to maybe try and help somebody like that.
Sure.
I think that you do need some form of law and order, and I think that because you don't have a way to hold people like that, I think that an eye for an eye kind of makes sense in those situations. I hate saying that because that's not the world that I like, but it's he literally killed a person, kidnapped a kid, lied to a person with the intention of killing that person, and tried to kill that person, and almost killed a bunch of other people on accident. Yeah. And I think he would have been fine. He would have been fine if Xavier went in there with a gun and killed a bunch of people. Like,
I think that's what he was hoping for.
I think that's what he was hoping for in the beginning. And so I kind of think in this type of world, sometimes if you don't have systems for law and order, you take drastic measures. And I hate saying that, but I think that Gary got way better of an ending than he should have for the safety of all the people, not necessarily that he deserved, but like that area that the other people went to. Like he may go there, and I don't know if anybody's going to tell those people that like Gary's a terrible dude. And
well, hopefully when they picked up Annie's baby, they were like, okay,
hopefully
let me tell you, because it seemed like they thought that Terry was kidnapped too. Like they didn't have the knowledge that she went on her own. And so they're picking up the baby, and then they're just like, listen, be very careful of Gary. They tell him the whole story, and they're like, wait, you guys didn't take care of Gary? Then they get a whole mob going. That's my headcanon.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said this, because this is actually one thing I was thinking about this episode.
Okay.
I like the premise of a bunker of people that have had modern technologies for 3 years, and a group of people that are on the outside, like the haves and have-nots. I do like this. I think this could be something they could really... I don't know if they are, since it seems like we're going this different route with Alex. But I do feel like with this premise, they could milk a lot of interesting story ideas out of a giant world that is lacking, and then a tiny world that has everything, and yet the tiny world has more than the bigger world. And I think that dynamic of how they could interact, and situations that could come up, and ways that they might one day need to work together, or one day that they might hate each other. I think it creates such it could just create such a cool story vessel to like really create interesting questions. I don't think they're going to go too deep in that. I think more of right now we're like, oh, airlocks are down, or lockdown is down and doors are trying to open. Like, that's the conundrum. But I like the idea.
I kind of think that like the first season was mostly in the bunker, with the exception of, the flashbacks. And the flashbacks were to the previous world, before the horrible, apocalypse kind of happens. This one expands the scope of the world by getting outside. And I don't think that next season is going to go further outside to like literally expand the scope more. I wonder whether or not it expands the scope by dealing with these alternate timelines, multiverses, whatever it is, that's kind of the way that things are expanded. I mean, through like all of these different possibilities.
That would be pretty cool if you have one idea of what your show's going to be, and then each season it progressively gets a little bit... Like, if you think about first season and what the third season could potentially with multiverses, those are two very different shows. Like, they don't make sense being in the same series, let alone the same characters. So I hope that happens, because that would be crazy. Like, imagine saying like, okay, I know this show starts off in a bunker and everything is created to look like it lives here, but stick with this show and we go time traveling, multiverse hopping, and I wouldn't believe that.
Yeah. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.